Good evening. Tonight on we examine the question, is there a life after death? And here to discuss it are three dead people.
Hey VC, Midge here, guy in a hat who likes to talk about records, and today I'm dressed up because it's going to be quite a sombre occasion, and it's a thread response video to the wonderful Gavaxman Spins. If you don't know his channel, I'll leave a link below. Check him out. He's just entering his third year of making videos in the VC, and he's come up with a strange thread response, and it's all about funerals. So he's asked us to pick 3 songs that will be played at our funerals. So I've always had one song in mind for my funeral, stretching back a long time. But then when Gav went into it a bit more, you sort of realise you do have to have 3 really, if you're going to have a normal order of service. And I know it's quite a sombre topic that nobody really wants to address or think about, but as Gav's pointed out, and he's right, you have to think about these things, because the last thing you want as a music fan is someone to choose the songs for you at your funeral. And then you could end up with something like Westlife's You Raise Me Up or Robbie Williams' Angels. And if that happened at my funeral, my coffin would be spinning like a tombola. So you don't really want that. You do need to think about this, and you need to let your loved ones know. So I think this is as good a way of any of letting your loved ones know what you want at your funeral. And funerals are funny things, aren't they? And not particularly funny. But I know I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, I like a bit of a laugh. I like to mess about. I like to joke. And I like a lot of comedy. And I thought, shall I make this funeral, a bit more as light-hearted as it can get? And I thought, I don't really want to be, the man that tries to put the fun into the word funeral, because it doesn't work. And also, I don't, it's a hard thing to do, and it's hard to set the tone. So I'm going to keep it pretty straight, to be honest. And I had to think about this quite a bit. But funnily enough, the 3 songs I've chosen have all come from 3 of my all-time favourite albums. So that's pretty apt in a way. So let's get down to it. So firstly, Gav split this into 3, and it's quite clever how he's done it, because he's split it into the 3 main parts of the funeral, the order of service basically. So to jump the gun a bit, I've arranged my own order of service. So I've got it here. So this is the pamphlet that will be given out. So obviously, as it says, join family and friends to squabble over his vinyl collection in his honour, and that's me there. And obviously my full name's there: Midge Mahoney Hightower Tackleberry III. It's a long name, but the story behind it basically is I was conceived on a Saturday night when the Police Academy film Police Academy 7 Mission to Moscow was on. So obviously it didn't really hold my parents' attention, so they turned to other things, and I was a result of that. So I was named in that honour. Obviously, I haven't got a date yet, but as soon as I do, I'll let you know, so you can make your travel arrangements and things like that. And it's to be held at the Hey Jude Funeral Home in Sheffield. Oh yeah, sponsored by Bang & Olufsen. So the spread should be good. So that's the order of service right there. So the first part of the order of service is as the people come in, and they take the seats, and they line up in the rows and things like that. So you've got to have some music playing in the background. So the song I've chosen for that is it's one of the most beautiful songs ever recorded, I think, and it's REM, and it's from Automatic from the People, and it's the song Find the River. Now, there's been lots of interpretations of this song over the years, and Michael Stipe has never really said what it's about, but my interpretation of it is it's a song about a man looking back on his life and trying to impart some advice to a younger person who's just starting out on theirs. So there's references to starting to find your career and your life in the city, and that life is moving pretty fast, and that he's approaching an age where he's slowing down. And obviously the metaphor throughout the song is to find the river, as in to find your path in life. but to be aware that the river will eventually join the ocean. So I'm not a particularly religious person, but you like to think there's something out there in the big beyond. And obviously Michael Stipe did, because he's, the metaphor is the river will find the ocean a bigger picture at some point. But we'll have to wait and see, won't we? But yeah, it's a song about a journey of life from start to finish. And the narrator in the song is obviously coming to the end of his life, and he's trying to impart some knowledge. And it's a bit of like the cycle of life. So basically, as one person dies, another is born. As one journey finishes, another begins. And I've always liked that. It's sort of like a circular approach to life, which is how I've always seen it. So the guy in the song is more or less passing the baton on to a younger member of the world, and who's starting off on their journey. And it's such a beautiful song. Not only is the musicianship is beautiful, the melodies, the arrangements beautiful, but Michael Stipe's a great lyric writer, and I think this is him at his peak. There's some absolutely amazing lines in this song. The ocean is the river's goal. The river poets search naivete. What a great line in the song. It comes right at the end, and it's just what an amazing line. And yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful song. And the fact that there's, that is the circle of life. All of this is coming your way, the narrator says at the end. So he's getting the idea of approaching the end of his life, or someone else is starting there. So I thought it was a good song to play as people are filing in and trying to find the seats, and arguing over who gets the best view. And yeah, I thought that was a nice song to pick. So I've gone for Find the River by REM. Beautiful song. So the next part of the funeral is where, I don't know, the vicar or whoever's leading the service, or some member of your family comes up and says some nice words about you, hopefully, and your life. And yeah, it's always think it's a bit of a shame that you can't attend your own funeral, because it doesn't really matter to you, does it? 'Cause you're not really there, are you? But it'd be nice, to see what people actually think of you, or maybe not. It depends what sort of person or how you've lived your life, really. But yeah, it's a shame in some ways that you can't see your own funeral, and who attends and who doesn't, and so you can haunt them potentially later. But this is the part of the funeral, like Gav says, where somebody says something nice, and some music is played, potentially over a photo montage of things you've done in your life, or achievements, or family snapshots, and that, and everyone gets a bit emotional. And I've picked this song for that. Again, another long-standing favourite, a bit abstract, but I've gone for George Harrison's The Ballad of Sir Frankie Crisp, Let It Roll. And it doesn't really fit if you listen to the lyrics of it, because obviously George wrote it about the guy who owned Friar Park, which is the house he bought towards the end of the Beatles' career. A huge Victorian mansion that needed a lot of work doing to it. I think it was more or less dilapidated when he bought it. But he's sort of like spent years renovating it, and it's quite a unique property. It's got hidden tunnels and hidden rooms in the house, and I think the bloke who built it was quite an eccentric. So the song is actually about the guy who built Friar Park, who where George more or less sort of retired and lived all his life there, and absolutely loved it. He did fall in love with the property and lived there all his life. And the reason why I picked the song is not only because it's got one of the most gorgeous piano melodies you've ever heard running through it, it's also got Phil Spector's production, which makes it sound really sort of ethereal and sort of a bit old, and it's just a beautiful song. And the reason why I picked it is because the sort of like the attitude of the song is, and it's sort of my approach to life, really, and it's like, let it roll. The song actually sort of it's more or less it's sort of like a guided tour of his property. So you go through the woods, you go through the maze in the house, and it's just caves and things like that. And it's sort of like an appreciation of nature around you. And I've always been a big fan of nature. There's some horrible things in this world, but nature's one of them things that makes you think, this is a really beautiful world if we just stop ruining it. And yeah, I just love that approach. Let it roll, just let things happen. Just, drift through life almost, and just appreciate it. So it's more or less the vibe of the song that I'm going for here. And yeah, it's just my approach to life. It's just, let things roll, let things happen, be kind, be nice, help people, that sort of thing. And yeah, I'd like that played over a photo montage, and I always like how the song starts in the day, and at the last line of the song is "Let it roll into the night, let it roll," and that's a great way of signing off, I suppose. So yeah, George Harrison's "The Ballad of Sir Frankie Crisp," "Let It Roll" would be a great song to put over a photo montage of my good self, and I'm just going to give you sort of like an impression of how that would work. I'm not going to boast, but I have had quite an interesting life, and I'd like to show a few photos now to illustrate that. I'm not being big-headed, honestly, but just to give you some sort of idea if you can't attend, because I'm thinking of you really, and this is hopefully what it would look like. So the last song to be played at the funeral, or as Gav humorously puts it, your exit music, is the music that's played when your coffin is put on the conveyor belt and you're sent off behind the curtain to be fried. I'd settle for a cremation. I did it for a long time. I wanted to be buried for some reason, but I changed my mind and I think I want to be cremated now. I did think perhaps go for a humorous approach for this, but like Johnny Cash's "Ring of Fire" or something like that. But I want to keep it respectful and solemn, and I want people to cry. I want people to miss me, if you know what I mean. I want the emotion. So basically, I've discussed this part with my wife. So obviously, I want to be cremated. I want my ashes to be scattered over Kelly Brook. I haven't had her permission yet, but hopefully we'll work something out. I mean, she can always have a shower afterwards, but that's where I would like to go ultimately. But the song I want to choose as my exit music, which is something I've had in my mind for a very, very long time, and again, it's from one of my all-time favourite albums, and it's from Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, and it's the short instrumental song on here, in Welsh, so apologies if I butcher it, Bron O'r Rare. So it's originally the name of a cottage in Wales that Jimmy Page and Robert Plant went to in the early 70s to go songwriting, like a back to nature thing. There was no electricity or running water, I think, there, but they stayed there for a while. And I think they did keep returning to write songs and be surrounded by the beautiful Welsh countryside. And the song itself is just an example of Jimmy Page's amazing guitar playing. It's an acoustic finger pick piece, which I've always wanted to learn and play, but no chance. But it's such a beautiful melody, and it just sounds like something from another time as well. It sounds like something that, that would send you off. You can almost imagine it being like, being somebody playing it, like a minstrel playing it as you're sent off in a Viking longboat that they've set on fire. Probably gone too far with that, and I don't think they could afford that at my funeral. But it's such a beautiful song, and it's instrumental, and it just sounds like the sort of perfect song that would, beautiful melody, beautiful arrangement, really great acoustic guitar playing, and it just sounds like something really peaceful and otherworldly that would set you off on your journey to wherever you go next, really. And Bron O'r Rare, I think is the correct pronunciation. But yeah, it's a beautiful instrumental, and it's a piece of music that I've always loved, and I think that'd be a great one to send me on my way to Valhalla, potentially. So that's it. So thanks, Gav, for a very unusual thread, and but it's worth thinking about. So join in by all means. Jump on this thread. Gav has assured me that you don't have to peg it to be involved, and it's good, isn't it? You could show this video to your loved ones so they know exactly what you want or you don't want, and that's it basically. So if you'd like to move on to the local pub, there'll be a spread on there, sponsored by Bang & Olufsen, so hoping they're not going to skimp on the sandwiches. They're cut into triangles and things like that, and obviously have a drink and raise a toast to your old friend Midge, unless you don't like me, in which case you're not coming. But yeah, funeral songs. So and hop onto Gav's thread, go over to his channel, subscribe while he's still here, while we're all still here, and make the most of us while we're still round and about. So thanks for coming. Any donations, give to me. Oh, it's too late for me, isn't it? Yeah, forget that. Charity. Yeah, charity always makes you look good, doesn't it? Thanks for coming. And I'll see you on the other side. So, namaste.